I just wanted to thank our sponsor, VetBadger. VetBadger is the only practice management system that puts relationships first. It is user-friendly, communication-focused, and seamlessly integrates with your accounting software to enhance the well-being of your team and your clients. So thank you, VetBadger. At Vive Wellness, we were so delighted whenever VetBadger approached us to co-create this workshop together. And to introduce myself, my name is Kirby Bremner. I go by Kirby B, and I'm a master health coach. And I work exclusively with veterinarian doctors. And I'll tell a little bit of my story as to how I ended up working exclusively with vets. It kind of goes back to my history at Ross University in St. Kitts, West Indies. So I'll share a little bit more about that with my story. But I'm so happy to be here with you guys today. Thank you so much. And Deanna, I'm not sure if you can allow people in the wait room, because if oh wait, here, admit. Okay, here we go. Okay. All right, so today we're gonna talk a little bit first about why we're doing meal prep. So first off, I wanted to talk about the impact of nutrition on your brain. When I first got into nutrition, I'm not going to lie to you guys, it was because I wanted to have a certain physical appearance. I was looking to lose weight. I was looking to feel better in my clothes. That's how my whole journey began. I had no idea the significant effects on mood and well-being that diet and nutrition can really have.
Oh yeah, those got accidentally.
So why meal prep? Serotonin, okay? So serotonin, that neurotransmitter that helps us regulate our sleep, our appetite, mediate moods, and inhibit pain. We're actually finding out that 95% of that serotonin is produced in your gastrointestinal tract. So that good bacteria influences what your gut digests, but it also affects the degree of inflammation throughout your body, your mood, and your energy level. So your gut health is a whole lot more important than we might have thought. Along with nutrition, it has a significant impact on your brain. I'm just letting a few more people in. Okay. So the risk of depression is actually 25 to 35% lower in those who eat a traditional Mediterranean or Japanese diet. So unfortunately for us, we tend to eat more of the Western dietary pattern, and we end up eating a lot of processed foods, fast foods, delivery, that type of thing. Those things are, that food is full of processed and refined sugars, and not really focused on the vegetables, fruit, and unprocessed grains like we see in the Mediterranean and Japanese diet. What is really interesting is that nutritional psychiatry has shown us that there's actually a strong association between poor diet and an exacerbation of mood disorders, including anxiety, depression, and other neuropsychiatric conditions. So that sugar and the refined foods is connected to impaired brain function. We can make the correlation that poor diet can affect or exacerbate, I'm so sorry, mood disorders. So why am I telling this to a group of DVMs? I'm not saying that DVMs have poor nutrition, but what I am saying is that veterinarians tend to be a group of people who sacrifice their own self-care so that they can dedicate their time and energy to others. And when you are sacrificing your own self-care so that you can put others first, you might not be able to meet those nutritional needs that might give you the advantage in terms of your mental health. We all know the statistics for veterinarians. This one is from AVMA. 24.5% of males and 36.7% of females. I believe that 80% of DVMs are female, have experienced depressive episodes since veterinary school. And so it made me think, what if we could leverage nutrition to make us feel better and have ourselves prepared with foods that meet our own nutritional needs? So that's what this presentation is going to be focused on, identifying the different macros so that we can meet our basic nutritional needs through meal prep. All right. So this presentation is for you if you are too exhausted from long work hours to cook every day, if you're not really sure what to eat, how much to eat, and you don't really have any idea what to cook, if you're relying on processed food and delivery during your shifts, if you have time to eat at all, if you want to have more energy, clarity, focus, if you want to feel stronger in your body and have more stamina. And I want to talk a little bit about my story because it connects really deeply with the power of food as medicine. So I used to be an elementary school teacher, but I was so exhausted that I relied on microwave dinners and frozen pizzas. I basically struggled with depression and anxiety for over a decade, had a really poor immune system, sick all the time, chronic neck and back pain. I saw dozens of therapists, acupuncture, massage, physical therapy, chiropractic, but nothing helped. And I was just kind of chasing. So I finally found a holistic nutritionist and I started changing my habits and changing my nutrition. And that's where everything really changed for me. So I was able to lose 30 pounds, mostly through nutrition at that point. My back pain and neck pain was gone. My stamina and strength improved. I was able to get through the day and do all the things that I needed to do without taking naps. And my confidence really skyrocketed. So that coincided about the time that I moved to St. Kitts, West Indies. And that's when I started teaching yoga at Ross University. After class, the students would ask me a lot of questions about stretches, about their own body aches and pains. And I wanted to be able to assist them a little bit better. So from my yoga teacher certification, I became certified as a personal trainer. I started training students and DVMs from Ross University. I opened up the first yoga and fitness studio on the island. And then I started training for a bikini competition. So again, after class, my DVM students and professors would ask me questions about meal prep, about nutrition, if I would plan their meals for them because they were so busy, they couldn't even think about what to eat. Could you just tell me what to eat? This was out of my scope of practice. So I went back to school again and I became certified as a nutrition coach. And that way I was able to have the impact that I really wanted to have in the community. I started coaching Ross students and faculty and helping them co-create meal plans. So I was combining sports nutrition with meal prep basics, and my method worked. My clients were losing weight. They were reporting better focus. They had better energy levels, better sleep. And since then, I've worked with dozens of DVMs and students, and I've continued to study nutritional science. So alongside the art of coaching and habit integration, I've also studied the science of nutrition and how our bodies function. And I was recently certified as a master health coach. I'm going to be board certified next year, which is really exciting because it means that my clients will be able to use their health insurance to pay for nutrition coaching. I'm hoping that we'll be able to use our health insurance proactively instead of when we are sick. That is my goal for the community. So that's a little bit about my story and how meal prep has impacted me. I also have some amazing testimonials from my clients who have worked through my methods. I can help you, figure out what's realistic for you, your goals, your lifestyle. And my clients often report that what they learn through this process has seeped into other areas of their life, including their work and their job. My method also worked for vet students who found that they had more energy to do the things that they needed to do. They needed less naps in the middle of the day. So let's dive into the method. I'm going to share all of my secrets with you as how I break down meal prep. And I use a sort of three-pronged approach here: plan, portion, and prep. So first, we're going to talk about planning to get adequate nutrients. A lot of times I find with the complicated recipes that we find on Pinterest, you might labor in the kitchen for hours and hours, and you end up with some food, but it's still not actually provide you with the right balance of macronutrients to meet your needs or your goals. So what I want to help you do is focus on understanding macronutrients and how much you need of each per day so that you can align your meal prep to be the most effective in the shortest amount of time, because we should not have to labor in the kitchen for hours and hours on complicated recipes that are not going to meet our goals anyways. Okay. Second part of my method is to portion. We're going to use our hands, and we're going to actually, I'm going to teach you all the hand portions for the different macros so that when you look at your meal, you will be able to see, I'm getting enough protein, I'm getting enough vegetables, I'm getting enough carbs. I always try to focus on getting adequate nutrients instead of restriction. Okay. Because usually what I find with a lot of my clients when they first come to me, it's not that they are eating bad things. It's usually that they're not eating enough of the good things. Okay. We're also going to talk about some little rules and rituals so that your prep feels effortless. And I have a few tricks of my own that have been working really well for me that I'm going to share with you. Okay. So next up, I'm going to ask you guys to grab a sheet of paper and a pen. And what I would like you guys to do is to draw a big cross like this. So just a line down the middle and another line in the middle. You're going to have 4 quadrants. And I'd like you to do this. Like, go ahead and grab your paper, grab your pen. I want you to walk away with a sheet of ideas from this webinar. We're going to talk about macronutrients. So macronutrients are the nutritive components of food that the body uses for energy and to maintain the body's structure and systems. But each macronutrient is responsible for certain things in our bodies and for our minds as well. So on your sheet of paper, you can label the quadrants: P for protein, C for carbs, F for fat, and then V for veggies. I'm going to mention that the main macronutrients, there are 3: protein, carbs, and fat. But I like to include veggies as well because they are such a large component of getting your nutritional needs met. All right. So here is your little diagram that I'm asking you to create. So draw on your sheet of paper this little diagram. I'm going to go through the macros one by one and offer you some different options for each. And then your job will be to make a note of foods that you would totally eat regularly, some foods that you might be willing to try, some foods that maybe you don't want to eat all the time, but they might be good to have as a treat every once in a while. We're going to write all that down. Okay, you have your papers ready? We're going to begin with protein. Protein is my favorite. If you want to build muscle, you've got to be eating your protein. My friends tease me because I am always asking, does it have any protein? What are we gonna eat for protein? Protein. So this is my favorite one. Lean protein helps us improve our satiation and our appetite management. Protein takes a long time to break down. So including protein in your meals can help you stay fuller for longer. Body composition, it's what builds our muscles. Performance, if you're an athlete, if you're looking to reach some PRs. Recovery, I don't think people realize how important protein is for recovery. You may actually even need more protein if you're training hard a lot, if you're an athlete, or if you have a really heavy physical job. So if you're working with large animals, you might actually need a little bit more protein. If you're sick or injured or recovering from surgery, we need a little bit more protein as well. Older people tend to digest protein less well. And actually, the way that our body breaks down protein, we can really only absorb so much in one sitting. So it's better to space that protein out throughout the day so that we're able to get the most out of our protein. Instead of eating it all in one sitting, we're only really able to absorb so much, okay? If you are under chronic physical stress, you may be losing protein and require a little bit more. So how much of it do you need? Usually about 0.8 grams of protein per kilogram of body mass. I also use the calculation in pounds. I would do about 1 gram per pound of lean body mass. So if you are about myself, 130-pound woman, then my needs would be almost 130 pounds of protein. Okay, and another great trick, and there's a lot of interesting evidence on whey protein being linked to weight loss. If you're looking to lose body weight, protein, because remember, it takes so long to break down in our body, it can actually put us in a negative energy balance and keep us fuller for longer. So it's really, really helpful if you are looking to lose a little bit of weight. Okay. So here are some examples of protein. We have them organized into categories: eat more, eat some, and eat less. Obviously, our diet on the day-to-day, we want to be choosing most of our sources from eat more. It's not horrible to include things like protein powder or uncultured cottage cheese, or even poultry. However, we may not want to be eating those 2 to 3 times a day. It may not want to be our main protein source, you know? And the eat less category, you might notice things like the processed stuff, like the protein bars, the high fat meat. Every once in a while, as an emergency meal or as a treat, it's awesome. But again, we don't want to be using those eat less foods as the building blocks of our diet. So what I'd like you to do is on your sheet, under the protein category, write down maybe 4 or 5 different protein options that you would be happy including in your diet. So I would write down egg whites, fish, shellfish is great, chicken. Those are usually some of my go-tos. I do use protein powder as a supplement to make sure that I reach adequate nutrients in the protein category. But I try not to have that all day long. Okay, so go ahead and make your notes. Any questions in the chat? I'm just going to check in the chat right now. Great. Everybody can see me. Okay, awesome. Let me know if you are stuck or if there's any questions at all. Okay, cool. Peanut butter. Oh, excellent question, Jamie. Yes. So peanut butter is often thought of as a protein. If you check the macros on peanut butter, it's actually more dominant in fat. So we consider it a source of fat. The other common misconception about protein is chickpeas. A lot of people believe that chickpeas fall into the category of protein, especially as a vegan source of protein. However, if you look at the macros on a cup of chickpeas, I believe it is, and don't quote me on this because I'm going by my memory, but I believe it's around 36 grams of carbs and probably like 9 grams. Yeah, I think it's about 9 or 10 grams of protein in a cup of chickpeas. Are there any suggestions for good vegetarian sources of protein? Yes. Okay. And then replacement proteins for dairy intolerance if you don't like lentils or chickpeas. Okay, so let me ask the sources for vegetarian, it is a little bit different. What we have to do with a vegetarian diet is your macros actually look a little bit different. It depends on the type of vegetarian that you are. If you are open to eating eggs, then that could make a big difference for you. Of course, we would incorporate a little bit more tempeh, seitan. There's other grains that do provide a lot of protein. So we can actually get adequate protein from vegetarian sources, absolutely. But then what we do need to take into account is that that person, let's say, for example, you're including chickpeas to get your protein, it will essentially have you eating a lot of carbs in order to reach your protein goal. So for persons who are vegetarian, it may be a little bit trickier to make sure that you have all of those nutrients covered without going so high in carbs that your macronutrients are out of balance. Replacement proteins for dairy intolerance. Yeah, and this is for vegetarian, Dr. Ojay Wu. There are some great vegan protein powders, and there are also specific oh my gosh, there are specific recommendations for people who follow a vegan and vegetarian diet so that they can get all of their vitamins in. So it may be making sure that you have a certain combination of lentils, pulses. Oh, okay. Not vegetarian. Okay. And not vegetarian, but you can't have the dairy and the texture issues. Okay. So yeah, if you are okay, I'm very, very low on the dairy as well. And I'm not quite vegetarian either, but I do eat a little bit. Let me maybe come back to this to make sure that I understand it correctly. Are there options? I'm not sure what you're looking for a replacement for. What is your protein intake goal per day? That would depend on you, your current body weight, your goal, how much weight you want to gain and how fast you want to gain it. It would also depend on your physical activity level. Are you working out to gain that weight? Do you have a job that involves heavy lifting, or is it more of a desk job? It's quite personal. Typically the rule of thumb though, I like, if I'm using pounds, then I usually say 1 gram, 2, we can even go as high as 1.5 grams per pound of lean body mass that you have. So if I'm 130 pounds, I would aim for about 130. grams of protein. But if you're looking to gain weight, we would want to put you in a bit of a surplus there. I hope that makes sense. Let me know if not. Okay, so for carbohydrates. All right, so whenever I talk about carbohydrates, I really like to mention the word smart carbohydrates. So we're talking not about bread and pretzels and things like that. We're talking more about the high fiber, slower digesting carbs. So the starchy tubers, the beans, the legumes, whole grains, or whole grain versions of noodles and pasta. The benefits of carbs, and a lot of people are a little scared of carbohydrates, but the benefits really do include that long lasting energy and fiber. We do need a lot of fiber. This does also help us gain lean mass. If you're looking to build muscle, if you're an athlete, then carbohydrates are really, really helpful. Kristen, if you are overweight, you would use your goal weight. Yes, as your lean body mass, or we would want to calculate what your lean body mass would be and then feed you for that. However, there is a bit of a process to this. If you are currently taking in, let's say, for example, 2,500 calories, and your lean body mass would only require 1,800 calories, we don't want to drop you really quickly. What we might want to do is bring you down slowly so that you don't experience a big, kind of hunger and shock to your body, because that we can get reverse effects if our body is really in a stressful state. So hopefully that makes sense. We would calculate, we would use your lean body mass as your goal to do your calculation, but we might want to bring you there slowly, like 150 calories at a time, dropping you down. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, carbohydrate intake, it's really tricky to say. And I like to work with my clients over a period of time, because it can take a little while to figure out exactly that sweet spot of carbs that gives you the energy to go through your day, lets you sleep well at night, but also gives you the result that you're looking for, whether that is weight loss or muscle gain or even maintenance. So there's not really a correct amount of carbohydrates, unfortunately. Carbohydrates is one of those macros that we manipulate first when we're looking for weight loss, whereas we would keep the protein fairly steady, right? We would keep the vegetable servings pretty steady, but carbohydrates is something we can kind of bring up and down depending on what the desired result is. Okay. So here are some examples of carbs. We have them divided again into eat more, eat less, and eat some. And there may be some really interesting carbs that you might not have heard of before. Take a note of anything that you're interested in trying. I mean, some that I am not really familiar with are farro, sorghum, amaranth, barley. Those are not staples in my diet, but we can see that they are higher fiber and that they are slower digesting carbs. So they do give us the benefits that we're looking for from our carbohydrates. Notice that plain non-fat Greek yogurt is actually listed as a carb here. It is listed as a protein as well. However, dairy products are fairly high in carbohydrates, so it's something to be mindful of. Milk is listed under eat some. And I know sometimes people drink milk believing that it is a source of protein, but if you check the macros on it, it's actually pretty high in sugar. Never horrible to have the occasional handful of M&Ms or crackers or pretzels. You can still note down some of these foods for a treat every once in a while. A cereal bar as an emergency meal in your backpack, or in your bag at the clinic. But we really want to be basing our meals around those good. Fruit is also a carbohydrate. Sweet potatoes. Yeah, I eat oats almost every day. They're delicious. I'm just checking the chat to see if there's any questions here. Is there anything that surprised you? Granola is very, very, very high in carbohydrates. Oftentimes there's a lot of sugar in them. It kind of depends on the brand. Sometimes you can make your own granola and avoid all those extra sugars. All right. Is there a difference between eating fresh fruit and drinking 100% fruit juice with no sugar or additives? Yes. The reason is that fresh fruit has plant cells and plant fibers. So when you're eating that fresh fruit, you're chewing it, it's traveling down, it's taking time for your body to break down. It provides us with fiber, which is really helpful for our gastrointestinal tract. So there is a lot more health benefits to actually eating the fresh fruit or the frozen fruit. Frozen fruit is great as well, as opposed to drinking the juice. Yeah. Sometimes I like to juice. I have a juicer and I like to make myself juices with a lot of ginger and turmeric and things like that. But that's usually with a different purpose. And I wouldn't want to really counter towards my fiber. If you did really enjoy drinking juice, and there's no reason to cut that out, but I would be mindful of portions and I would count it as a carbohydrate. We're going to get into I just showed you my hand. We're going to get into the portion sizes really soon. All right. So hopefully that answered your question. Yeah, cool. Good. All right. Fats. Yes. Okay. So healthy fats. And this is the other, when considering foods to choose, do we count them as the primary? Yeah, okay. That's a really good question. Beans do have carbs and protein. Yes. What I like to look at is, I guess, what I call the dominant macro. And I try to look at what it has more of. So beans do have carbs and protein, but if you look at the macronutrients, beans have way more carbohydrates than they do protein. And so I would count it as a carbohydrate, and I would portion size it for the carbohydrate. Yeah. This is a little bit trickier. Vegans, I do have vegan clients and we do fancy math. We do fancy math for my vegans, so that they can, because they might, get a little protein here, get a little protein there, get a little and they do reach their protein requirements per day, but it's a little bit more math involved. Okay. So healthy fats, cell signaling and communication. Wow. That's very important. Regulating our inflammation, helping us feel more satisfied at meals. So in terms of macronutrients, fat actually has 9 calories per gram. So if you imagine a little drop of butter or a little tiny, blob of peanut butter, that little gram would actually have 9 calories in it. So it tends to help us feel more satisfied for longer. Fat also provides us with energy, make and balance hormones. Yes. Forming our cell membranes, our brain, our nervous system, transporting our vitamins, the fat soluble vitamins, A, D, E, and K. And we can't make omega-3 and omega-6 on our own. So fat gives us that. We do want to be sticking to healthy fats. as opposed to unhealthy fats, and we'll get into those in a second. How much fat depends on how active you are. It's one of those macros that we can manipulate if you are trying to gain weight or if you're a really, really active person. Notice how highly active people can consume almost double the amount of fat as lightly active people. So there is definitely different requirements for different activity levels. And this is why it's so personal. Okay, so take a look here. Here's all the good fats. It mentions walnut. I haven't come across a lot of walnut oil. Now I'm curious. Walnut, extra virgin olive oil, avocado and avocado oil, and marinades that are made with those oils. We're looking more at the fresh cheeses, egg yolks, seeds, and nuts are great. Okay. Here, we're coming into a little bit more processed kind of stuff. Notice how that fresh, unprocessed coconut is a great source of fat in the eat more category. But when we get over into the oil and the milk, it's processed. And so we maybe don't want to be eating that all of the time. Flaxseed, virgin and light olive oil, canola oil, these are okay. Every once in a while, dark chocolate. But again, you know, being a little bit more moderate. Of course, over here, check how bacon and sausage are actually considered a source of fat and, you know, kind of less desirable fat at that. So that's one of those ones. It is a protein, but because it's so high in fat, it's almost kind of like more dominant in the fat category. I'm just going to check the chat to see if there's anything surprising here. Yeah, the primary macro. I think I answered that one. When we are considering foods to choose, do we count them as a primary macro? Yes. Sorry, I did answer that. All right. This can be the other reason why if you are eating that processed food, if you're doing delivery, if you're ordering in restaurants, we don't know what kind of oils those restaurants are using. They could be using a lot of canola or safflower, and we can't really control what they're cooking our food in. So if we're getting really poor quality oils, that can actually be linked to inflammation as well. Okay, so vegetables. How does the age of the cheese matter? Yeah, it's interesting. I believe it has to do with the processing as well. And there is also, I believe it is, I can check with you and respond back because I don't want to say the incorrect thing. I would rather be precise with my information. Off the top of my head, I believe it is tyrine that aged cheese contains, but let me check on that and get you the correct answer. Okay, so vitamins, antioxidants, minerals, we've all been told, eat the veggies, but the benefits here, this is what's really impressive for me. Linked to less inflammation, reduced risk for chronic diseases, protection against cancer and heart disease. How many do we need? Guys, this is a tough one. 4 to 6 fists. So if you imagined your hand, we would be looking for 4 to 6 fist size, like 1 cup portion per day. So that's actually a lot of vegetables. And I'm curious, does anybody in the chat, is anybody reaching their 4 to 6 portions of veggies a day? It's really difficult. For myself, I have to be conscious of it. I have to eat them at breakfast to get them in. Sometimes I sneak them in smoothies. Nope, absolutely not. No. Yeah, it's tricky. Or if you are eating vegetables, if you're only getting 3 meals a day, I don't know too many vets that get to eat 4, 5, 6 times a day. Most of the time, you guys are lucky to have a couple meals per day. But if you are conscious of getting those veggies in, then you want to be making that serving size a little bit bigger. So I might try to have 1.5 cups of veggies several times a day in order to meet my quota. Spinach in the smoothies. Let's take a look at the different types of veggies. And I want to challenge you to see if you could write down one veggie from each color section. Maybe there are some things on there that you haven't tried. All veggies have different nutrients. So we do just want to aim for a variety of different colors so that we vary the different nutrients and vitamins that we receive from them. I actually started eating veggies for breakfast, and that was an attempt to get my 4 servings. If you're not counting servings and you're looking for more of a number that you should hit of veggies in terms of grams, we would actually want to look at your fiber, okay? And we would be aiming for 25 grams of fiber per day. So if you ever track your macros in MyFitnessPal or any other type of calculator, when you look at the fiber tally at the end of the day, you want to be going for 25 grams. So that's how I started scrambling veggies with my eggs in the morning, because that was the only way that I personally could hit my 25 grams. And now I really like it. Feels wrong to start my day without vegetables. Okay, so hopefully you have your list here. I can also send out the slide presentation to everybody as well, and you'll also get the replay, but in case you want to go back and take a look at some other veggie inspo. Now you have your sheet, and you should have a little favorites list for each macro. Take a look over here at this anytime meal. So Precision Nutrition is where I did my Master Health Coach certification from. These guys are great. They have incredible education for nutrition. And if you look at this plate example, we're showing a lot of veggies, okay? Protein, fats, carbohydrates is not actually mentioned, okay? The reason for this is that we don't always necessarily have to plan to get a carbohydrate for adequate nutrients, because as we said before, it's very different and it's very specific to each person. But also, there are a lot of carbohydrates in vegetables. And typically there are carbohydrates and fats. So just by you eating your vegetables and eating those nuts and seeds and things like that, you might actually be getting enough carbohydrates for your goals. Now, if your goals are to gain weight, if you're an athlete, if you're training, then that's when we want to specifically plan for you to have extra carbohydrates. But they're not necessary at every single meal. I hope that makes sense. They're not bad, but a lot of times we do get them in other ways. And so we don't really need to add, a serving of pasta here in order to reach adequate nutrients. Hopefully that makes sense. Okay. So now it gets exciting. You have your list of protein, you have your list of vegetables. I'm just going to go back. Ideally, what I would like you to be able to do is choose one protein, okay? Choose one veggie, or 2 or more, if you're feeling spicy and you have more things to cut up, and choose one source of fat and maybe a carbohydrate too. And then what we'll do is we'll go through the portion sizes for each one so that you know that you're getting adequate of each. All right. So we're going to use our hands, and you're welcome to actually take your hand, hold it up. Let's make a mind connection of and a visual here of the portion sizes so that you'll remember it later. But typically your protein is the size of your palm. Now, what's really interesting about gauging portion sizes using your hand is our hands are all slightly different sizes, but your hand is in proportion to your body. So it will give you the right portion size for you and your body, you know? So what the portion size for protein actually gives us is about 3 to 4 ounces. That's 85 to 115 grams of cooked high protein food. So you can imagine your chicken breast, your fish. For eggs, this is about 2 eggs. Okay. And that will give us about 20 to 30 grams of protein. So we would recommend adding 1 to 2 palm-sized proteins for each meal. Typically, all of our recommendations includes 1 to 2 serving sizes per each meal. And that would be just general recommendations to make sure that we get adequate nutrients. Obviously, this is very different for each person. So for carbohydrates, I always think of cup hand carbs, CC. This is about a half a cup to 2/3 of a cup. Sometimes whenever I'm measuring out my oats, I'll just do a little scoop with my hands, and I'll know that I'm getting enough oatmeal. I live alone, so I'm the only person who touches the oats. So that will give us about 22 to 25 grams of carbs. We recommend aiming for 1 to 2 cupped handfuls of carb dense foods per meal. However, like I said, depending on your goals and your activity level, it could be a little more, it could be a little less. Okay. With the fats, that's the size of your thumb. So you can imagine if you're cutting pieces of cheese or your nut butters or your seeds and your oils, that's going to give us about 1 tablespoon. I think I have very large thumbs. That's about 1 tablespoon. And that will give us about 8 to 9 grams of fat. So that's your peanut butter that came up in the chat earlier. That is exactly the macros for peanut butter. I believe it's about 8 to 9 grams of fat per tablespoon. I believe there's only maybe 4 grams of protein in that same serving size. So it's definitely more dominant in fat. And then your veggies. It's 1 cup of veggies if you're measuring out your cup, or it's equivalent to your fist. And that actually gives you about 25 carbs right there. So you can get your carbs from veggies. 1 to 2 of those per meal. Yes, that's a great question, Dr. Rebecca. When you are portioning, do you measure before cooking or after? Okay, so for protein, it is typically measured after cooking. So we want to cook the chicken first because there's a lot of water in it, and then we would measure it. Okay. For carbohydrates, it is cooked as well. So if you're measuring out, I usually measure oats dry, of course, because once you hydrate them, they're very heavy. But that's typically the exception to the rule is oats. And besides that, we do want to cook it for carbohydrates. Yeah. For vegetables, I'd say it's kind of both ways. Like if I was to saute up some veggies, I would still look for that cup or that fist. All right. So like I mentioned before, this is super, super individual, and the exact number of serving sizes of each macro is unique to everyone. So it depends on your body, your activity level, your schedule, your goals. It can vary due to your eating preferences. I do have some clients who are vegan, some clients who are practicing keto. If you take a look at the example that I have here for Crystal, this was a keto low carb plan that she had wanted to try. So we ran her macros for that specific eating preference. As your body changes and your metabolism starts firing, so if you're an athlete or if you're going through a transformation, like you want to lose a lot of weight in a short amount of time, you'll notice that your body will adapt quickly and then your nutritional needs will change. So typically with a client, I would be wanting to look at their results first. So I would have them take pictures at the beginning and measurements. And then in 2 weeks' time, I would look and see what sort of changes happened in those 2 weeks, look at what went well for them, what did not go well for them. And then I would kind of see how their body responded to those macros. And if their body responded really well, we might keep them at that same amount of macros. If their body responded really well, we might be able to actually adjust the macros, but it really kind of depends on the person. Yes, so this is something that a coach can calculate. There's also online macro calculators. If you're ever curious, you can always, I think bodybuilding.com was a great resource back in the day, of how to calculate your macros, and then you would have a closer idea of what you need. And we do offer coaching at Vive Wellness. We can run your macros, and then we can guide you through the whole process of changing your habits from where you are to where you want to go. So we can look at your current intake and see, okay, well, how many portions of veggies, carbs, fat, protein is this person taking in right now? And then what small actionable steps do we need to take in order to get them closer to that goal? So that is something that we offer. Okay, so the prep. All right, so we talked about planning, making sure that your meals have adequate nutrients instead of just cooking whatever and not really getting what you need. We talked about the portion sizes and using your hands to gauge your portion sizes. We're also going to talk quickly about prep, because I don't do a huge complicated Pinterest type of prep in my house. I focus on cooking 1 to 2 things for each macro group. That's how I do it. So I would cook some chicken, some fish, hard boil some eggs, have some protein powder on hand. I might put a slow cooker of rice. I don't know if you guys have tried cooking rice in the slow cooker. It's amazing. It cooks perfectly. I was never able to cook rice before. Or I might put on a pot of oatmeal and portion that up for the week. But I'll chop some veggies and have fresh veggies ready to go and veggies to throw into my meals. But I don't tend to spend a lot of time doing complicated recipes. I prefer to cook 1 to 2 of each macronutrient and then keep them prepared in my fridge so that I can assemble meals. So here are my tips. Rituals. I want to talk about rituals a little bit, because a lot of my clients, and I know that this is typical of people in veterinary medicine, are perfectionists. Let me know if you resonate with being a perfectionist, wanting to follow everything perfectly, maybe beating yourself up if you don't do it, or if you don't do it perfectly. I just want to mention that with rituals, we still get the benefit of doing the action, even if we don't do it perfectly, or even if we don't do it every single day. So sometimes when we say ritual, we think, oh my gosh, I have to sit down and meditate at the same time every day, but it doesn't actually have to look like that. It could be that we get benefit from that ritual and then we kind of move on. So I create a simple ritual. On Sunday, I throw chicken breasts in the slow cooker. I'll assemble overnight oat jars on my table while I'm watching the morning show. I'll wash and chop my veggies as soon as I unpack my groceries. And honestly, just those 3 little rituals for me make sure that I have chicken in the fridge always. I have my overnight oat jars that I can grab and go on my way out the door. And I have my veggies ready to go. So just those simple things actually is very giving for me. I end up getting a lot out of those three. I have some rules in my house, and it's kind of funny if you know me, I'm a no rules kind of girl, but my rule in my house is the veggie container is never empty. So if I'm chopping up vegetables, if I use the last of the red pepper, I will in that moment chop more and replenish that dish, because I never want to reach into my fridge and find I don't have what I need, and then I'm not able to give myself those adequate nutrients. The other one I do with the chicken, as soon as I run out of the last bit of cooked chicken, I'll throw a new one in the slow cooker immediately. My rule for myself is I don't eat at the fridge. I try to put my food on a plate and, sit down and enjoy it. And my last one is, even if I don't hit my other macro goals, so even if I don't get enough fat, even if I don't get enough veggies, even if I decide that I want an ice cream bar or an extra little treat, I don't get too mad at myself, but I do always make sure that I get my 4 servings of protein a day at a minimum. So those are some little rules that have helped me keep my prep running smoothly and keeping me fueled. Okay. So my other prep tips for you are to focus on those assembly meals. So again, those recipes that have a long list of 15 different ingredients and processes, they're time consuming. They may not even give us what we need. Focus on preparing the foods and keeping them in your fridge. So I'll keep a large container of chicken, a large container of vegetables, a large container of rice, and so on. And then I can just scoop each one of them. It's also less dishes that way. If you do your meal prep like the picture on this slide with all of those little plastic containers, you're storing your food in plastic, but also it's a lot of dishes. You find yourself washing dishes all week long. So when you have them stored in your fridge, you can make a variety of different stir fries, bowls, soups, different combinations so that you don't get sick of the same thing, right? Switch up the veggies, switch up the protein, but not consuming a lot of your time. Prepping by macro is key. So you want to start with the ingredient that takes the longest time to cook. So start with your meat, because it typically needs to be thawed. If you're working with tofu, you want to start pressing it, squeezing out all the water so that you can cook with it later. So those things take time. Start to work on those. And then while those are cooking, you want to cook your carbs next. They take the second longest to cook. So that's when you will boil your pasta, your rice, chop your potatoes, throw them in the air fryer or the oven, whatever you do. And then while those two things are cooking, you kind of have time for a little bonus task. Okay, so that could be chopping vegetables, even tidying your kitchen would make it a little bit easier, but take advantage of that time while some of your macros are cooking so that you can chop your veggies. Okay, organize your pantry. So the other little nerdy thing that I do is I organize my pantry in little shoebox containers, and I organize by macro. So I actually have a little supply of carbs. When I'm looking for a carb, I can grab pasta, flour, rice, dried berries. It's all there, in my little carb box. I also have a section for fat. I have my nuts, my nut butters, my shredded coconut. I keep sauces and spices in a different little shoe box, and which would be, more fat, like my different types of oils and things like that. And I also keep a supply of protein, collagen, and branch chain amino acids as well. So I make sure that my pantry is stocked full of protein options. All right. I have been thinking about what types of foods I think would work really well in a clinic or hospital type of setting. And I came up with a list of recommendations that I think if you were to stock your clinic or your hospital, I think that these foods would not only give you a nutrition advantage, but they're delicious and they might provide an alternative to the constant supply of chocolates and cookies and snacks that I know tends to find its way into the staff room in veterinary hospitals. So I would recommend investing in a small blender, or protein shaker cups are great kitchen, because then you can whip up a little protein shake really fast. Protein powder, nuts, dried fruit, nut butters, rice cakes are great, whole grain crackers, Greek yogurt, cottage cheese, frozen fruit, prepared cut veggies, and hummus would be wonderful, wonderful additions to keep in your vet clinic so that you are able to reach your nutrition goals and not feel those big insulin spikes of energy whenever you're eating the chocolate. But then, of course, the crash comes a little bit later, and then you're dealing with the brain fog and the exhaustion. So these snacks will provide a little bit more level energy and adequate nutrients. All right, so in case you needed some help with that, I just wanted to mention that VetVive does offer coaching. So our program is called Vibrant, and that is our proven integrated wellness coaching program. So we help you fuel your body for optimal performance. We'll make sure that you're getting those adequate nutrients according to you and exactly what you need for your body. We provide the blueprints. So we would break down your goals into skills, practices, and actions. And we would also provide the accountability to help you decide what action is going to give you the most impact towards your goals, and the support and accountability along the way. So if you run into challenges, if you run into obstacles, we can help coach you through that so that you can get the results that you want. So yeah, no matter where you are, I have some clients that are working on getting enough protein. I have some clients who are working on cycling their carbohydrates so that they get optimal performance in the gym. There's a variety of different levels, but there's definitely a lot of impact for everyone. Okay, so our programs do include an online classroom with all of our slide decks and presentations about macros, just like this one, as well as Elite Trainer is our exclusive app. So you would get, and it's really kind of hard to tell in the image, but we would break down your day essentially into all of the meals that you could possibly consume. So if you were telling me what time you typically go into the clinic, how long your surgeries tend to last, what time you might get a lunch break at, what equipment you have available in your hospital, what your dietary preferences are, and what your macros are, I can help create a meal plan that will align with that. I started this practice because I found that a lot of times the cookie cutter meal plans don't work for veterinarians. If someone tells you that you need to eat cottage cheese and asparagus at exactly 10 a.m., it's not going to work. But I can help co-create a plan that will work for you and for your needs and for your goals. So our one-to-one coaching program includes a big deep dive. You're going to sit with me for an hour and we'll talk all about exactly where you are and where you want to go. And then we would be meeting on either a bi-weekly or weekly basis, doing a check-in, seeing how your body responded to that adjustments that we made the week before, how you felt, what you want to work on next, and then I can also adjust your macros at that time to make sure that you're getting the things that you need. I have some clients who are training really, really specifically. They go to the gym, they want to achieve certain body composition, they want to lose weight or add muscle in certain places. I'm also a personal trainer, so I design custom programs for all of my clients that it's focused specifically to them and their needs. How much time they have is also a big one too. A lot of times the training programs that I see have us in the gym for an hour and a half, 5 days a week, which may not work for your schedule. But I promise you that there are progressive training programs that will work for your schedule, and we can work together to find it. My work is focused a lot in habit and action and breaking down your goal into the skills and practices that you need to reach it, and then breaking down those skills and practices into actions. So we boil it all down to 5-minute actions, as opposed to strict diets. And if you are interested in hiring a coach, we have coaching programs for as low as $249 per month, depending on the kind of support that you need. If you're interested in coaching, we do have some spots available till the end of the year. We have a few openings. And so you can go to calendly.com/VetViveWellness. It's also on our website, VetViveWellness.com. And you can sign up for a free consultation with me. I would be happy to answer all your questions. Even if you decide not to go through with coaching, I would still love to have a chat with you and hear all about what you are looking to achieve. Okay. And just one final offer as a way to say thank you to everyone who came. If you were curious about exactly how many protein, carbs, fat, veggies you should be having, I don't usually do this. I usually reserve this product exclusively for my clients, and my clients get unlimited macro, calorie, and portion guides with me, because we will run the macros as often as they need in order to reach their goals. But if you were interested in knowing your numbers, I will send you a little survey, and you can fill it out with all of your nutrition information and your movement goals, or sorry, like where you're at and your goals. And then I would send you back a PDF guide with calculations for your goals. And it would give you exactly, like you can kind of see on the screen here, the precise number of each macronutrient for you, daily portion tracking sheets, and easy meal ideas with the portions. And our bonus is I actually just created a meal prep by macro guide. It's 40 pages long, and it does have the recipes organized by macro, which I'm really proud of, because I haven't seen a lot of recipe books designed this way. If you're looking for a protein, there is a section for that. If you're looking for a carbohydrate, there is a section for that. So that kind of makes things a little bit easier for you. And that is $89. You can find it at our store, VetViveWellness.com, and then click on store. And there's a special code for you, lovely people. It is Meal Prep 2023. So make sure to pop in the code, write it down on your sheet, Meal Prep 2023, in case you would like to take advantage of that offer. VetViveWellness.com/shop. Okay. And that is our little bundle. If you go to VetViveWellness.com, you'll be able to see it's the only product in our store right now, because I do ask that anybody who's interested in coaching have a meeting with me. I just want to make sure that we're a good fit for each other, because coaching is about connection. And we want to make sure that everything is a good fit and a good vibe to work on your goals. I also just wanted to give a little shout out to our friends at VetBadger. Carrie was amazing getting this all set up for us. If you're interested in a demo for the software that VetBadger provides, you can register for a demo at their website, VetBadger.com. And that is all for me, but I would love to hear any questions that you might have, anything that I might have missed, or if you have a specific question, I would be happy to answer it. I'll just take a look at the chat and see if anything pops up there. Thank you, Melissa. Did you find it helpful? Could you let me know in the chat if this was a helpful perspective on meal prep and, coming from the perspective of getting adequate nutrients and focusing on those? Let me know if you learned anything new today or enjoyed. I'm open to any feedback. If there's something that I missed and you'd like to have a little bit more of that next time, let me know that as well. Helpful, great. Thank you, Kristen. I really appreciate that. Awesome, awesome. I'll stay in here for a little longer just in case there's any, yeah, so you enjoyed the portion sizes and how to easily measure with your hand. Yes, I'm so glad, Melissa, awesome. Heather, oh, great. I'm so glad you felt that it was really helpful in providing a foundation. Yes, be a little helpful for sure.